Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to CHDV4120 Summer Session 10 Weeks, 2025. My name is Jorge Ramirez, and we are going to go over the reflective journal assignments you have coming up in week number 6, I believe. I'm going to start sharing my screen. We'll go over the expectations, the instructions, directions. Hopefully, it'll give you enough information so when you begin doing this assignment, it's pretty much straightforward. But if at any point you have any questions, you can always shoot me an email. I do check my email throughout the day. I take a lot of pride in responding to your emails within 24 hours. Although sometimes I will admit I do get a little busy and I don't meet that, but I do try to make sure that I am there to respond to you for whatever it is that you need with the assignments in our course. So let me begin by sharing my screen and then we'll get started. So when you first log into our course, this is what you will see. This is our home page. When you're in our home page, go to the modules. When you're in the modules, mine looks different, obviously, because it's mine. I like to just close every module once we're done. If you scroll to the 1, 2, 3, 4th module, you see assignments for the semester. You click on exams, midterm, reflective journals, reflective journal number 1 and 2. This is pretty much the criterion to what you're required to do. So given that this is a 4,000 level course, which is an upper division, you're required to use APA format, 7th edition. You're required to do research using the university database, and you're also required to provide a theoretical connection, which is what you're going to do in this paper. So the overall instructions are to keep your margin at 1 inch all around, 12 font size. And I will tell you that this is very evident because this is the, again, requirement for APA and doing APA research myself. It is very evident when your margins are not following these expectations. Your font needs to be Times New Roman, 2.0 line spacing without adding or removing space before the paragraphs. You're required to have at least 3 references in the reflection and a cover page. APA requires you to have a cover page, your actual reflection portion, and then you are required to also include a reference page with the references that you use. Your paper cannot exceed 1 page of reflection. So essentially, you will have a 3-page document, 1 your title page, 1 your reflection, and then 1 your reference. 3 pages, not 3 pages of writing, your reflection, but title, reflection, and reference, 3 pages. The reference sheet should say page. Let me make that change. You are required to use APA format using paraphrasing instead of direct quotations. So this is on the rubric. If you are using direct quotations, it will impact your grade, and I will highlight it for you and tell you. Paraphrase, do not direct quote, because it is very easy to copy and paste someone else's work and give them the credit. When you paraphrase, it is a form of critical thinking. And again, this is a 4,000 level course, upper division, which requires you to complete this type of work. You are to use academic writing. So I know we're living in a generation when you're texting, you tend to use a lot of acronyms, a lot of abbreviations, and you're pretty much not being graded on the grammar that you use or the syntax. This is a 4-year university. You are required to use proper grammar. So before you submit it, make sure you revise it and that you are using proper grammar, because I will highlight that and give you a feedback on it. Do not use contractions. So don't use the word don't, not, rather spell it out. Do not, does not. Make sure you spell the whole word out. You're required to use 3 scholarly sources. Scholarly sources meaning it is not a Google search, but rather a scholarly source. Your course textbook, that is considered a scholarly source because you are using that for research purposes. Anything that you use in the university database, it is considered a scholarly source, and you can use that. The videos that are uploaded for you to watch on the reflective videos assignment on a weekly basis, those are considered sources because you are using them for research purposes. Give me one quick second. Can you still hear me? I just noticed my daughter connected her AirPods. No, she's here. Thumbs up, you can hear me? Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate it. Thank you, Tiffany. So the total amount for this assignment is 3 pages, 1 title page, 1 reflection, and 1 reference. 3 pages. If your work does not reflect these expectations, you will get a 0 and you will get a comment from me. Again, this is 100 points. It's going to impact your grade one way or another. So please make sure you're following those expectations. So let's go back to the modules on our Canvas course shell. We'll close this module and go down to week number 6 because that is next week. And it'll open for you on the 29th, which is on Sunday. You have your midterm exam, which is worth 34 points. And then you have your reflective journal, which is 100 points. So when you open that up, it's going to have the instructions that I just went over. And this is pretty much what you're required to do. Okay, so I'm going to begin formatting the page so like that you have a good awareness of how to properly format. So pretty much what I'm doing is I am formatting the paper APA format. So give me a second. Let me go back to share my screen. Okay. So here is my Microsoft Word. I am using a MacBook. If you're using Google Docs, it does get a little bit tricky. It does get a little bit different. If you're using a different type of device, a Dell, a Windows, or anything else, it might be a little bit different. Again, I am using a MacBook. So first and foremost is I'm going to jump into the header, which is I just double click and it automatically opens a header. In APA, you're required to have a running head. Oh, great question, Chris. So in the chat, Joyce is asking, can we use the list of leisure readings in the intro module for peer review sources? So great question. Let's check that. Correct me if I am wrong, Joyce, okay? So okay. I am under the assumption that you are referring to the recommended readings on your syllabus?
Yeah, it's like it's either in the syllabus or it's in one of the first modules.
So on the syllabus, page number 2 through page 3, recommended leisure readings. Yes, these are considered scholarly sources. These are books that I've read that tie into a lot of the work that we are doing, the research that we're doing in child abuse and family violence. You're more than welcome to use these books. Highly recommend all of these books. And if there's one of these books that really catches your attention and you want more information on it, shoot me an email, we can talk about it. But yes, you can use any of these books as a reference. I'm reading a couple of more this summer. So, and for my fall class, they're going to add, I'm going to add 2 more books to them. So yes, you can definitely use this as your scholarly sources. It's on the course syllabus, page 2 and 3. Great question. Okay, so here we are in our Word document. So like I said, I'm using a MacBook. When I click up here, it automatically opens up the header. And in APA, you are required to use a running head. So the running head needs to be all caps. I'm going to title this Reflective Journal. So essentially what it is, it's a condensed title of your research. In this case, you're writing a reflective journal. So your title can be Reflective Journal number 1 because you have 2 of them. Also want to insert page number. Page number needs to be justified to the right. So here is one of very common mistakes is when you're done with this, you think, okay, cool, I'm done. But remember the instructions. Your font needs to be Times New Roman and it needs to be 12. So it is 12 font, but you need to change the format, the font style, I'm sorry, Times New Roman. And it changes. And again, this is very, very easy for me to spot because this is the same type of work that I do for my research that I'm currently working on. So it stands out like a sore thumb. Once you're done with your header, go ahead and click back out and hit enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And this is your actual title of the assignment. What do you want to title it? So I'm going to title it, oops, My Mexican Toxic Culture with My Mexican Toxic Culture with Child Psychological Maltreatment. When you're done with that, hit enter 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here is the name of the assignment. The name of the assignment is Reflective Journal number 1. After that goes your name, not mine, but your name. Right below that goes the course, which is Child Abuse 4120. Oops. And we are section 1. Right below that goes our university, which is California State University, Los Angeles. It is not Cal State LA. Cal State LA is the abbreviation, but because this is an academic writing, you're required to write it all out. Right below that goes the due date, which will be June 29th, 2025. And right below that goes my name, Jorge Ramirez. So this is pretty much your title page, but now let's format it. So again, APA requires you to use Times New Roman font style, and the font is 12, and then justify everything to the middle. So essentially, this is what your APA 7th edition title page should look like. So here's a disclaimer. Certain professors will want you to format the title page a certain way. For my class, this is the way I want you to format it. You have your header on the left-hand side, all caps. You have your page number on the right side of the header. You exit out of the header, hit enter 3 times. Your full title of the assignment, you can title it whatever you want. Hit enter 5 times. The name of the assignment, your name, the name of our course, section number. Oops, not child abuse, child development, I'm sorry, child development. Our university, the date that's due, and then the professor's name at the bottom. So a few years back, 5 years now, before the pandemic, everything was literally turned in on paper, right? Since the pandemic hit, everything is now submitted online. So this is why the format hasn't changed for you to complete a title page. One thing to check before we move on is check the spacing. So the spacing, remember we said it needs to be 2.0. Oops. Yeah, I knew it. They look a little off. There we go. So this is your title page. I'm going to zoom out. And if you want to take a screenshot of this, this would be a perfect time for you to take a screenshot. And then you can compare this to the file that you have. And the question is, do they look the same? Look at the font style, look at the font size, look at the spacing, and look at the information that your title page should have. Okay. Once you're done with it, what I like to do, I just like to copy my title. These are some shortcuts that I like to take after the professor's name, hit enter once, go to insert, break the page, and then copy the title. And then I'm going to justify my alignment to the left, and then I am good to go. I'll leave this here for a second. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving along. So this reflective journal, you really pretty much don't have anything to expand on. It's right about getting to the gist of the assignment. What are you going to write about? How are you going to get to the point? How are you going to properly cite it? And then how are you going to connect it? Wrap it up, put your references, and then you're done. It can get a little tricky. It can get a little tedious. I guarantee you this is probably the hardest one-page assignment you will do. because it requires a lot of critical thinking. This is not the time, the one page assignment that you can do at 11:30 because it's due at midnight. If you do that, I guarantee you, it is going to give you a lot of time and you're probably going to bomb this assignment. This assignment is meant for you to really critically think about your perspective, your cultural perspective, your academic perspective into what abuse really is and how it's defined according to the book that we are using. So there's three components in your reflective journal that you're going to be graded on. One is a type of abuse. So you are going to be writing about a type of abuse. And up to this point, you have read chapters 1 through 6. Chapters 1 and 2 give you a lot of terminology, definitions, historical perspective, examples of different types of abuse. Chapters 3 through 6 focus on the 4 types of abuse that we've been talking about. The first one is child physical abuse. The second one is child sexual abuse. The third one is child neglect, I'm sorry. And the fourth one is child psychological maltreatment. So you are going to pick any type of abuse that you would like to talk about. For me personally, I like to reflect on my roots. I was born in La Piedad, Michoacán, Mexico. Came into this country as an immigrant, as an illegal immigrant at that time. Now a U.S. citizen. I am never ashamed to say that I am Mexican. I am very proud to say that I am Mexican. However, in my Mexican culture, there's a lot of things that I wish I could have changed as a child growing up. Obviously, I can't, but what I can change is how I raise my 2 girls and making sure that I am breaking those cultural norms or cultural expectations of raising children. For example, in my culture, as a man growing up as a boy, it was never appropriate for boys to express emotion, with the exception of feeling angry. So if for whatever reason I felt a sense of sadness, it was always, why are you sad? Boys are not supposed to feel sad. Get over it. It's not a big deal. Essentially, what that ended up doing, it made me suppress and repress my emotions to the point that I bottled them up. Now, as an adult that goes through a lot of different emotional challenges, I connect that back into the way that I was raised as a child. And my, again, very toxic Mexican culture. I'm not saying your culture is toxic. I'm saying the culture that I grew up in was very toxic. Another example of child abuse in my culture is growing up, my dad had to work. He was a very hardworking man. My mom cared for the kids. So guess who would go to school on their own? Kids. I am the second oldest of 8, and it was pretty much the kids would go to school on their own. It wasn't right around the corner. It was a distance to get from our home to school, and then after school, from school back home. I grew up in East LA, Boyle Heights area, infested with gangs at that time, drugs, alcohol, prostitution, a lot of violence. So it really wasn't the best place for children to be on their own. But again, because my dad had to work and my mom was caring for my other siblings, we had to do these things on our own. So going to school at that time, it really wasn't seen as neglect. It was like a necessity. Well, you have to go to school, but I can't take you as an adult because I got to take care of the other kids and go on your own. By definition, according to our textbook, that can't be seen as neglect. Right now, there's different subtypes of neglect that the book talks about, and we'll get into it once we start for writing our paper. Child sexual abuse. So child sexual abuse is the one that in my culture, we don't talk about sex. We don't talk about sexuality. It's always swept under the rug. I remember many times my sisters, and I have 5 of them, when they were menstruating, my parents would always say that they were sick. And it was always a concern of, I hope they're okay. Should they be taking medicine? But it was never emphasized of what type of sickness it was. Raising 2 girls, sometimes I wonder, like, how can I make this conversation where it's not taboo? It's part of our normal conversation. We have to normalize that, right? And in my culture, anything to do with sex, not necessarily the act of, but our DNA, it is taboo. Do not talk about it. Child physical abuse is very common in my culture. Child physical abuse, by definition, is the intent to inflict physical pain on children, right? That's how we were disciplined. Whenever we did something that we weren't supposed to do, we had la chancla or the belt or a hanger or an extension cord, anything that was around my parents. When we did something we weren't supposed to, that was the thing that was flying in our direction. What was their intent behind it? To inflict physical pain. Did they know any better? No. And that's why I don't blame them. I don't think they did it with an intent of being abusive, but I think they did it with an intent to inflict pain on us. So that's where, by definition, I can say, well, my culture continues to perpetuate and cultivate this type of abuse. The other type of abuse is child psychological maltreatment. Child psychological maltreatment is probably the hardest one to understand because you really can't see any evidence of it. Child neglect, you can see whenever there's malnourishment, when there is poor hygiene. Child physical abuse, obviously, you see the physical marks. Child sexual abuse, you can see the physical marks on them. Child psychological maltreatment, you can't. That is when you pretty much tell a child that they're worthless. In my culture, my mom, my grandma, and all my uncles and aunts will say, hey, yeah, you guys had it rough growing up, but you turned out to be okay. So they have this notion of using my accomplishments as being okay. What I don't see is what's going on in here and what's going on in here. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, right? And that is the psychological aspect. So because you can't see that, you think that I'm okay, when in reality, I would really, really argue that. So this is what prompts me to write about my Mexican toxic culture, is about child psychological maltreatment. So let's get to it now. The first part of your paper is you are going to select a type of abuse from the course textbook and define it with properly citing the source. Okay? So a couple of ways that you can do this. First way you can do it is you can say, according to, and the authors of our book is Miller-Perrin, and Renzetti. Oops. So if you're citing the book, you have to include these authors. And you have to. After you introduce them the first time, then you can use et al. But for the first time, this is how I'm going to do it. According to Miller-Perrin, Renzetti, 2021, child psychological maltreatment is, then I define it. Another way that you can do it is, here's something that I like to use too. So after I introduce the name, then I can start using the acronyms, right? And the abbreviation or the initials, acronyms, whatever it is that you're going to use. In this case, would be initials. Child psychological maltreatment, and from here on, CPM. Whenever you see CPM, you know that it's child psychological maltreatment. So another way that you can do it is child psychological maltreatment is ... and then I'm going to cite it. Period. So those are different ways that you can do it. If you notice, it's the authors with the date, citing it in both examples. However you decide to do it, but this is where you have to paraphrase. Do not copy word for word. Paraphrase it. Okay. The second component is going to be, you're going to select a theory that you will use to break the cycle of abuse. So, for example, a theory, you can use any theory that we use in child development if you are a child development major. We have Erickson, we have Vygotsky, we have Bowlby, we have Ainsworth, Freud. There's a lot of different theories that we can use, right? And it's really up to you into which one you want to use. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Um, whichever one you want to use, it is totally up to you. If you're not a child development major, the book, the first two chapters does bring up a couple of theories that you can use. If you're unsure, send me an email. We can do a quick Zoom, and then I can help you provide some guidance to what you're trying to do. So when you're selecting a theory, this is your hypothesis. You are hypothesizing that if we implement this theory, it can break that form of abuse. Okay. This is where it gets tricky. Whatever theory you decide to use, you have to get university database source to back it up. Okay. So here is our Cal State LA home. When you're here, library. Click on library, article database. Personally, with my research, even today, I like to use ERIC. That is the database that I like to use. The other one that I like to use is PsycInfo, but you can use whichever one you're most familiar with. So again, go to your portal, your SharePoint, click on library, go to article database, and this is what it will bring you. For me, I like to use ERIC, click on E, scroll down. ERIC. This is just like if you were doing a Google search. The only difference is that you have to log in, you have to find these databases for you to go in. For Google, you just open up Google and you're good to go. Well, you're going to have to do a little bit of work, right? So here, this is where you type up the theory that it's my go-to, and it's a theory that I've done a lot of research with. Is attachment theory. Once I'm here, I'm going to see all these articles, right? All these articles that talk about attachment theory. Well, I'm going to talk about attachment theory and child abuse. Okay. So let me see, what can I find? Oh, nothing there. Then let's go back to Eric. Let's see if we can do it right here. The child abuse. And we'll go with preschool. Preschool children. Let's see what we get from here. Yep, here we go. There's a couple of them. Whatever you want to use, right? So here it is. Once you're logged in, you have access. You have full access to these scholarly source articles. This is Eric. This is one of them. I'm going to show you the other one that I like to use. The other one that I like to use is PsycInfo. I guess it's an abbreviation of psychology info. Here, PsycInfo. And same thing, attachment, child abuse, preschool, search. You might get different articles. You might get a lot of them that are the same, but whatever you like to use. So I'm going to go to that one. Let's look for the full PDF. And here we go. Next thing you would do is you would download it to your device, save it, and then you have it. I'm not going to give you criteria that it has to be within the last 5 to 10 years. That is a requirement, strict requirement. Usually it's the last 5 years. Then it can be very flexible to 10. I'm going to let you go ahead and find anything as long as it is in the university database and not in Google search. Google Scholar, don't use it. Use the university database. So once you've found that, you are going to define it. You're going to define your theory, right? Define the theory and cite it properly. So I'm going to use attachment. According to Bowlby, his theory is 1977. This is why I don't have you do the last 10 years, because this is long before you were even born for most of you. Attachment theory is ... And then I provide a definition. So just like that, I have 2 paragraphs. And remember, it's part of your discussion grading criterion. A paragraph consists of 5 complete sentences. If you have less than 5 complete sentences, it is not a paragraph. So make sure that you have 5 complete sentences for a paragraph. So in those 2 components, you already have two paragraphs. Okay. Once you're done with that, the next one is going to be your theoretical connection. With the type of abuse and the theory. Okay? So you're going to hypothesize how the theory can break the cycle of abuse in your culture. So what does that mean? You can't get this wrong. This is your opinion. This is your reflection on it. This is you telling me how you think you can break the cycle of abuse. The only way you're going to get this wrong is if you don't cite properly, you don't have the definitions properly, and you're not hypothesizing how to break the cycle of abuse. So here's how I'm going to do it. In my toxic Mexican culture, traditionally, we do not believe in displaying our emotions, causing us to suppress them even when interacting with others. Whole conversation that we can get into. But we're gonna, for the sake of our page requirement, we're gonna get right to the point. Interacts with others. Using attachment theory, we can help children ... And then you tell me what you think, right? So in this paragraph, it is important that you come back to the type of abuse and connect it to the theory. We can help children by ... using attachment theory, cited boldly. Oops. 27. Breaking CPM and then cited. Now I can use that all, right? Because I already introduced it. ... It's already 3 paragraphs. The last paragraph is how can society use this approach for social change? So give me a strategy. What do you suggest we do? What do you think society can benefit from if they use this theory to break this type of abuse. This is my area of research, social emotional development, my push to implement social emotional curriculum with preschool children, help them understand and develop their emotional awareness, specifically empathy and sympathy towards others, that can lead to more emotional awareness. Children that are emotionally competent or have a higher emotional intelligence tend to thrive academically long term. They tend to have healthier relationships with others. They tend to have a higher sense of self-efficacy, self-esteem, and a sense of agency. If we want to break the cycle of abuse, it starts with how we are raising our children. If we are raising them not to have any type of emotions, they are less likely to feel empathy and sympathy, which means they can be more destructive towards others because they don't know they can't put themselves in others' perspective to understand that they're hurting them. Given the climax that we are right now with our society, there's a lot of things that we can change, right? There's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of division. And this division is pretty much set on it's my way and that's it, it's my view and that's it. This is a lack of emotional awareness towards others. If young children have those emotional awareness at a young age, then it becomes normal to them. As they grow up, as they become adults, they tend to have those emotional intelligence that are able to understand that, yeah, that's not something that would help others feel good about themselves. I'm not going to feel good being destructive or hurting other people, so I'm just not going to engage in that behavior. I have to plug that in 5 complete sentences, 1 paragraph, and there is my page. Like I said, it seems like if it's a lot, but as long as you develop an outline, you're getting to the point of what you're writing, you're going to be fine. The last thing you want to do, I'm going to break a page, and I'm going to put reference. And this is where I need to include 3 scholarly sources. It is required and needs to be formatted. Oops. In APA 7th edition. So obviously we need to cite the book. And here is a little cheat sheet. Let's see. If you go to our course syllabus, here is a required textbook. Highlight it. Let's see. Copy it and paste it. So here's something that I've learned, right? When you submit the work and you copy and paste it, I'm sure you can see the graded. It sort of has like a gray background. That's telling me you copied and pasted. So what you want to do is you want to highlight it, click on this option and keep text only, right? But it's not formatted properly. So what you want to do is you want to highlight it. And again, I'm using a Mac device. If you're using something other than a Mac device, it might be different. So I'm going to highlight my reference. I'm going to double click on it, go to paragraph. I'm going to go to indentation on the middle part of it, go to special, click on hanging. Once you're done with that, oh, this needs to be 0. Once you're done with that, look at what it's going to do. See how the bottom one shifted? That is called a hanging indentation. That is requirement in APA. Times New Roman, 12 font, 2.0, we're good. And that's how we format our references. So if you are using any of the references from our course syllabi. They're here, and all of these, I intentionally left them here, APA format. So you can just copy and paste it if you're using any one of these. When you are done, if I zoom out, these are my 3 pages: title page, 1 page of reflective writing, and 1 page of reference. When you're done with it, please save it as a PDF and upload it to the assignment tab for grading. Any questions? If you have any questions, please send me an email. Thank you for listening.